At a time when Canadians are thinking that we're headed into a possible spring election, Justin Trudeau and his ministers are looking for more extraordinary emergency powers. Let's get into it.
Oh, yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. Justin Trudeau has shown us one thing over his last 8 years in tenure as Prime Minister of Canada, and it's that he can't be trusted with power. Him and his Liberals mismanage any form of power and abuse it to the fullest extent of the law. In fact, crossing the boundaries of what we would consider to be lawful at all times. We've seen multiple scandals over Trudeau's 8 years in his position, and we've seen events like the Aga Khan. We've seen the the We Charity scandal. I almost tied those in together. We've seen the current being investigated Arrive scam. We've seen multiple gifts of vacation villas being offered, but this one takes the cake, especially after the insurmountable call to invoke the Emergencies Act 2 years ago. Well, Justin Trudeau and his woke mob are now keying up for what could possibly be part of the World Economic Forum's plans, but also a part to control if there is a spring election or what gets said in the next spring election. Wiretap Media reporting here that under the guise of safety, the Trudeau government wants to create secret cyber courts and give themselves extraordinary emergency internet powers. Why would they want to give themselves more than they deserve? Let's continue. It appears Justin Trudeau and his criminal organization are gearing up for the World Economic Forum's cyber pandemic predicted by the organization's president, Klaus Schwab. On February 15th, 2024, Conservative MP Dane Lloyd asked the rubberneck Liberal MP and World Economic Forum member Francois-Philippe Champagne why his government needed secret courts and extraordinary government powers in the amendments to the Telecommunications Act, or Bill C-26. Slithery little francophone claimed it was a partisan issue. However, history has proven this government is not responsible enough to manage emergency powers, and everything they touch is to either stifle dissent or benefit their private partnership and stakeholders working to push us into the new world of corporate fascist government. Let's take it. Now, this is about a 3-minute clip, but let's take a listen to what was proposed here or what went on, and then we'll discuss.
And I think it's very concerning to Canadians to want to know, why does the government need, quote, emergency powers and extraordinary powers when we're really talking about trying to boost resiliency against natural disasters and trying to get companies to invest more in cybersecurity? Why does the government require legislation that gives them the power to conduct courts in secret, to announce legislation or block people from being part of the telecommunications sector in secret? Why are these emergency powers, why are they needed when what we need to do is get more investment in cybersecurity?
Well, I'll be happy to respond to that. First, thank you to say this is not a partisan issue. I mean, I think, like you said, we're all trying to do the best thing. I'll give you a very concrete example. If we were to find that there's a breach, in 5G, you have to, I think everyone would agree that this is going to be very decentralized. When you go from 4G to 5G, it's a different world. We're not in the same kind of network because the future would be that you have intelligent products so that everything is interconnected. If we were to find that there is a failure or an intrusion in the network that could have a systemic effect in that, you would want the Minister of Industry in the future to be able to say, you stop or we disconnect that particular person or entity, which is the source of the infection of the entire network, which could have a systemic effect. So the kind of power you need, you need to act very, very quickly because you're talking about...
Why do you need secret courts, Minister?
Well, I'll tell you, it's very simple. Because you would not want the actors, which are the ones who are trying to infiltrate our system, to be aware that you're asking them to plug the gap.
What are you going to put in to ensure that these powers are not abused? I mean, we've had lots of witnesses talk about how concerned they are about these powers, and you call them emergency powers.
People should
be concerning.
People should be equally concerned that today, imagine, the Minister of Industry doesn't have the power to ask that particular entity to plug, for example, that failure in their system that could have a systemic effect that could affect millions of Canadians. So I would say the check and balance in that, and I would say as a lawyer, you have judicial review, And under judicial review, you have proportionality, you have the charters of right and freedom. All of these bills and legislation
Privacy
still
Commissioner
apply.
has stated that there isn't proportionality in this bill. What can we do to bring more proportionality to this bill?
Well, I would say under judicial review, as you know, it's well established in jurisprudence that you need to have proportionality in terms of the act of the government. But I think you should see it in a positive way. Imagine the reverse of not having the power, and you come to know that there's true 5G, that somewhere in the network, someone is infiltrating that could have a systemic effect that could be damaging both economically or millions of Canadians. Think about the reverse.
Thank you, Minister. I only have about a minute and a half left, but
Okay, so again, what they did there was Champagne beat around the bush, but I'm going to tell you what the concerns are, what the wide concerns that I would have as a person are, is when we see the use of the Emergency Act and we see Justin Trudeau saying, you know, these truckers, these horrible truckers, we have to get rid of them. We have to clear the streets. They're a danger to our economy. They're a danger to our safety. And then we find out that no, what we always knew from live streams, from coverage, and from the statements of truckers is that no, there was no threat, there was no vandalism, there was no wrongdoing. This was a government that hastily enacted something because, well, they were sick and tired of people being parked on their front lawn, demanding that the government have a discourse with them. We're seeing the same here when it comes to internet censorship with Justin Trudeau and his new laws that, you know, defeat independent outlets from being found in search results, that stops people like myself from broadcasting on YouTube within a stronger algorithm simply because he doesn't want that information getting out. This is what a dictatorship does. This is censorship at its finest. When Champagne talks about, well, we wouldn't want certain actors of those communities to be to be encouraging or influencing the decisions made on whether we cut internets or not. He's talking about things like 5G, and the only time I've heard about 5G being a concern was coming from China and Chinese spies, and that's very rich coming from the party that has CCP plants within their party that have taken special interest money from the Chinese Communist Party. We've seen Justin Trudeau praise them multiple times. We've seen Stephen Guilbeault going over to China to bow down and tell them how dirty our environment is, but they're perfectly fine. With the amount of scandal that goes on in this government, with the amount of mismanagement and abuse that goes on, this is just another step towards them saying, we want control. And I'm telling you right now, anytime a government puts their hands forward and says, what we have isn't enough, we need more, there's a reason they don't have those rules. There's a reason they don't have those abilities, and it's because they were ruled unjust from the beginning. No one should have the kind of power that the current government has at its hands right now. This would just be one more tool out of their toolbox for them to use. And the problem with power that I find is that as soon as you give it, nobody wants to give it back. They'll stretch it. They'll find excuses to keep it around. And I'll point back to things like income tax, where income tax was brought in right around the time of the First World War to help build back from costs of the war itself, I guess. And they were told that it was a temporary measure. Income tax was just until people got back on their feet, till everything got solidified again. And now look at us, over 100 years later, we're still paying income tax at exorbitant amounts, I might add. But let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Is this a step in the wrong direction? I can't see anybody agreeing with this. Let me know your thoughts. Again, if it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. If it's your first time here, make sure to hit that button and click your bell for notifications. Join us live here on the channel every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, as we sit down and talk about everything that's happened this week, everything coming up in the week ahead, and a little bit of back and forth with the community. It's always great to see you guys there outside of making these videos, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll catch you on the next one.